Hi, this is Les Levine, the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason in Ohio sports. The Cleveland Sports Award dinner is going on right now in downtown Cleveland, and it's giving me some time to think about where we have come and where we are going in the Cleveland sports scene. It wasn't that long ago that it would have been tough to find a person with a dominant situation as an athlete in town. But in this past decade alone, we've had LeBron James leading the Cavaliers to 4 straight finals appearances and 1 NBA title. Then along comes Corey Kluber, and he wins 2 Cy Young Awards, and he was a huge factor as the Indians took the Cubs to an extra inning Game 7 in 2016. What about his teammate, Francisco Lindor, a shortstop that any team in baseball would want, as well as Jose Ramirez? He's also up for the award, as is Browns defensive back Denzel Ward. The winner probably will be Baker Mayfield, and well-deserved, but we're not the laughingstock of the sports world anymore. Some great memories are being made right now here in Cleveland. Maybe not nearly what the awards dinner host thinks about our city and the memories she has. She's Hannah Storm, and she'll never forget our city, nor Albert Bell. From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine, good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 23rd consecutive year. And, of course, seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Terry Pluto, the 10-time Sports Writer of the Year in the state of Ohio, is with us. And momentarily we'll be joined by Doug Lesmerises of cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. We're going to talk Ohio State football. And they had, depending on who you're talking to, a pretty good day. But they usually have pretty good days with recruiting. Terry, what's new?
It was interesting to listen to your commentary, and I think LeBron was not up for the award, right? I don't
No, he's long gone.
I mean, if you really want to get down to it, who was the best?
Well, we're talking about year by year now.
Right, but even last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought LeBron's, this is not, trying to create bad memories. I thought LeBron's performance to get the Cavs to the finals was epic and the best in his 4 years here.
All 4 years,
yeah.
Or one particular year?
I think when you look at what he did simply to get the team to the finals,
yeah.
Series after series after series.
And by the way, Series 1, if
Game 7.
Well, not even Game 7, but if Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love don't get hurt, they probably win that one.
Yeah, well, that means 2015. No, what I was talking about simply in 2018. You said it's for 1 year. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they had to beat Indiana at 7 games. And then Toronto, of course, always just punts when they see the
right.
But then they had to turn around and win a Game 7 in Boston to get to the finals. I just thought he was tremendous there, and I mean, but like I wouldn't give it to LeBron either. But I'm just saying.
Well, he's not up for it, so you can't.
That's why they didn't put it up for it. But
right.
I'm just saying, simply, if you look at what who I thought was the best, that would be who I thought was the best.
Yeah, but we're talking on a year-by-year basis. How about Kluber? In fact, just over the past couple of years, what he's done, and Francisco Lindor, who's going to go to the bank lots of times.
Yeah, I will. His agent's still sitting there wanting to see what Machado and Bryce Harper get. But in terms of that, but you're correct. In terms of athletes, big-time athletes in town for a period, where you do see, whether it's Baker as a young guy coming up along with Denzel Ward. Heck, you could have put Nick Chubb in there. I mean, Ward or Nick Chubb, either one. And then you go into Kluber and, my goodness, Bauer, Carrasco, any of those 3, but Kluber's better. You go
before LeBron came back the second time. How many big sports time guys did we have? Not many.
You didn't have anything quite like that. So.
Terry Pluto, the award winner 10 times as Sports Writer of the Year in the state of Ohio, is with us. Doug Lesmerises will join us. We'll talk Ohio State football. And we'll talk about a lot of stuff. Let's check out what's going on today in MS&LL headlines for the day. Brought to you by Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. National Signing Day is today. Greater Cleveland Sports Awards tonight. And the Pelicans plan to sit Anthony Davis until the trade deadline passes. Anybody beat them if Davis goes to L.A.?
They trade their whole team for him.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
But it's the Lakers.
It's still the Lakers.
Yeah.
But, you still have to put a few other guys around them. kind of Golden State's one of those until you beat them, or until
same thing with Belichick
until Kevin Durant leaves, which he may at the end of the year. Just because they get Anthony Davis, that doesn't, in my mind, say that the Lakers and LeBron are going to go there. And Les, LeBron never missed so many games as he did this year,
right?
With that groin injury or whatever.
And it could happen again anytime.
It could, and it also could be a sign that finally, this guy, who I believe coming into this year, if you count all his playoff minutes along the regular season, has played the 6th most minutes in NBA history, and he's 34. And you throw in all the extra games that he's played? Yeah, I mean, just the last number of years, 8 years of going to the finals, he could start
What's
to
the
be
price you pay? Yeah, absolutely. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at realleslavine@gmail.com. Doug Lesmerises will check in from Columbus. We'll talk Ohio State football. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine. With new content posted each and every day, we'll have a whole bunch of responses to our question of the day a little bit later in the show. More Sports and Les Levine exclusively on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
First things first here on More Sports and Les Levine. And that means we go to Columbus and we say hi to Doug Lesmerises of cleveland.com and the Cleveland Plain Dealer. Doug, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. Welcome to our show for the first time. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Tell me what happened in Columbus today as far as recruiting, and did they get the guys they thought they were going to get? Did they get more guys? Start talking.
Yeah, not much happened. Yeah, there's not a lot of news to spread, to be honest. We are in the world where they have the early signing period in December now. So this first Wednesday in February used to be like a national holiday for college football fans. It's not anymore. This is sort of like the stragglers, a couple extra guys. So they're going to wind up only signing 2 more guys today. They got a guy from Hawaii, an offensive lineman named Enoch Vamahi, who was a top 150 national player. That was a good get for them. Ryan Day, the new head coach, flew to Hawaii for 4 hours and flew back while recruiting this guy. And they haven't officially announced it, but they're going to get this tackle from Indianapolis named DeWand Jones. And they're going to be the only 2 guys they signed. So that class is going to be a group of 17 overall. 15 were signed in December. And it's a team in transition from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day. So you're always going to have maybe a drop off a little bit. They lost a kid named Doug Nestor, who had been committed to them for over a year. He wound up signing with Virginia Tech today. So they're a little short on the offensive line. That's why they kind of reached for the 2 guys they got. But it's a smaller class than usual, and it's okay, but it's not quite at the level of Ohio State recruiting the last few years.
Doug, for people who don't know the system, why did they make the change in the recruiting date and or the signing date and whatever else they did? What was the purpose of it?
Yeah, I guess it's the second year of it that they moved up time. It's to get kids locked in earlier. So the schools kind of like it because there's less flipping late in the process, that you work and you can get these kids locked in December instead of waiting till February. But also the kids can sort of get done with it. They don't have to wait around and have people still calling them. So it was a big push a couple years ago. A lot of coaches liked it. Some coaches don't like it. But it basically just moved everything up. It made all the coaches work a lot harder, a lot earlier. So they're doing bowl prep in December, but they're also trying to get this class signed. So I think it's kind of weird, because you used to have time after the season to finish your recruiting class. Now your recruiting class is basically 90% done during the season. But it's the world we live in, and it had been talked about for a long time, and they got to it a couple years ago.
Hey, Doug, you said 17. Is that really small for Ohio State? It sounds like a small number to me.
Yeah, they were at 24 or 25. Mm-hmm. 25 is the max to go to. They were at 24 or 25, basically all 7 years of the Urban Meyer era. They were going to be smaller this year anyway, though. The size is not a reflection of the transition, of the coaching change. The size is just, they have a lot of guys left over on this roster.
Do they have scholarships left over?
They're at the max. They got to 85 scholarship, and they had 83 before today, and now they're at 85. So they're maxed out. They could not have gone any higher.
All right. In general, what can we say about the loss of Urban Meyer and what it did to the class, or did they come out about where they would have anyway?
They lost a couple kids. This Doug Nestor kid would have signed with Ohio State. But in the end, they didn't lose much, and that's a big deal. And they kept a lot of the staff. They kept most of the offensive assistant coaches. They kept the strength coach, all that stuff. They wanted the continuity, and the result is, usually you lose more in a coaching change, and they actually had very minimal effect of the coaching change in the recruiting class.
All right, up on the screen, I'm looking at numbers that I don't like. The recruiting class rankings from Rivals.com. They've got, in 2018, they had Ohio State second behind Georgia, and in 2019, they're all the way down to 21. Does that mean anything to us?
No, it does. Recruiting matters. Those rankings are based on overall grades, that the bigger your class is, the higher grade you're going to have. So some component of that is a reflection of the smaller class. However, the 2017 and 18 classes were both ranked number 2 in the country. They were super great Ohio State recruiting classes. In 2017, they had 11 of the top 100 players. In 2018, they had 13 of the top 100 players. This year's class, 4 of the top 100 players. So it's smaller, but it also is not as elite at the top as it has been the last couple of years.
Is there enough of a sample size from Rivals.com and all the other recruiting sources? Is there enough sample size to say that, or the people who do the work there, that what they're saying is correct, or their record is pretty good? I would assume it's pretty good, or they wouldn't keep referring to them.
Yeah, no, there are recruiting naysayers who like to point out every time a walk-on or a 2-star kid makes it, and they say, look, recruiting doesn't matter. Recruiting matters.
Yeah. Right.
4-star and 5-star kids make it a lot. So Urban Meyer was super successful because he was really good at recruiting. So he always says, if you kept score, Urban Meyer wanted to win. That included recruiting rankings. So yes, their class is smaller, but also being ranked in the teens or around number 20 or so is not where Ohio State wants to be, and they will move up and be higher in years to come.
Do you think in any way the recruiting approach is going to change with the coaching change?
It's really interesting. Urban Meyer made this a national recruiting team with Ohio State. Ryan Day has shown so far that he is very interested in making sure they hit Ohio. It seems like a little harder than Urban Meyer had hit it. I think they're going to offer Ohio kids earlier, go after them earlier. Sometimes Ohio State in the past went national early and then got to the Ohio kids later in the process. I think it's going to be hard for Ryan Day to match Urban Meyer's national recruiting acumen. So he knows he has to lock down Ohio. They're still going to try to go national, but Urban Meyer was one of the best recruiters in the history of college football. So there may be some drop-off on what they do nationally.
Did Ryan Day surf at all during that 4-hour stretch in Hawaii, or didn't he get a chance to do that?
I don't even know if he saw the sun, man. I think he went from airport to cab to kids' living room to cab to airport. So that's recruiting, baby.
Fill us in on the quarterback situation and filings and when that decision will come down. I mean, we're assuming Fields is all right, and then who knows when that's going to happen.
Yeah, so Justin Fields needs a waiver from the NCAA to be able to play immediately at Ohio State after transferring for Georgia without having to sit out a year. He's going to get it. Whether he gets it tomorrow, next week, next month, in this summer, he's going to get it. He's going to be eligible to play this fall. And barring Matthew Baldwin, the other quarterback in this competition, having an unbelievable spring, Justin Fields is going to be Ohio State's starting quarterback in the fall. So, there's a lot of it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and he's going to play.
Okay, and what does that mean as far as how many years he will, assuming he doesn't go out early, how many years will this allow him to have?
So he was a freshman at Georgia last year. This will be his second year in college, so he has to be at Ohio State at least 2 years. So if this goes the way Justin Fields wants it to go, Justin Fields will be Ohio State starter in 2019, Ohio State starter in 2020, and then he'll go to the NFL. But unlike Dwayne Haskins, who only started 1 year, Justin Fields at least has 2 years, it looks like, to be the starter here.
Justin, who can you compare Justin Fields to for people who haven't seen him play?
I think Ohio State fans like to compare him to Terrell Pryor a little bit, which is just like a big physical guy who can run and throw. I think he maybe is a better thrower than Pryor, but probably not quite the runner he is. But he does have dual threat abilities. But I think they brought him here because they want to sling it around. You can't expect him to be Dwayne Haskins. He was exceptional last year, but I do think Justin Fields is going to be a guy that Ryan Day is going to have throwing the ball a lot.
It's a good fit for both Ryan Day and for Fields then?
Yeah, it's a risk. I mean, it basically ran off Tate Martell, who was the quarterback that people thought was going to be the quarterback here. As soon as Justin Fields got here, he transferred too. So Ryan Day wants to throw it more than Urban Meyer did. Urban Meyer liked the dual threat quarterback who could run the zone read. Ryan Day wants to throw the ball and throw it a lot. So I think Justin Fields fits that, but I would caution people, he's not Dwayne Haskins. You can't expect him to be Dwayne Haskins his first year here. So I think we have to temper things a little bit for the Ohio State offense in 2019.
Hey, Doug, I was wondering, the kid from Hawaii, after men have just kind of taken this Hawaii thing, what were the other schools that supposedly offered him? Do you know? Or who was
he was committed to USC. He was committed to USC for a long time, and USC has a history of getting kids out of Hawaii. Most of those Hawaii kids stick on the West Coast, but Tua is Alabama's quarterback. He's from Hawaii, went to Alabama. So this was a function of Ohio State needing offensive linemen late in the process. Not many guys being available, and they went and made a really hard pitch for Enoch Mahi, and they got him. But for a year, people thought he was going to USC.
Well, if he makes it, then there's a tunnel coming from Hawaii to Columbus. They didn't tell him it snows here, did they?
No, I think they hide that. They recruit a lot in the South, too. They like to hide that fact for as long as possible.
I wonder if he visited.
He did visit. He visited in January. So he was here with his mom wearing a winter coat.
Gotta give him credit.
All right. Yeah. Hey, Doug, we really appreciate you taking your time. You do a great job covering Ohio State and all the other stuff that you do. And we're looking forward to having you on many more times in the future.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Doug Lesmerises of cleveland.com and, of course, the Cleveland Plain Dealer. We appreciate him, and I think Ohio State has done just fine.
Probably. I mean, it is interesting to me. Like I said, I'm not locked in Ohio State and other recruits, but you go to Hawaii, you beat out a kid committed to USC, and you can say, yeah, obviously Ohio State's program is better shaped than USC, but you're still trying to get a kid out of Hawaii to Columbus, and they did it.
Yeah, I mean, recruiting-wise or distance-wise, that's not even halfway going to USC and then catching a flight continuing on to Columbus. So that's a good get for them. Because if he does well here, you'll see more people. It's like an untapped reservoir out there.
I mean, you go like where's population growing, and that obviously West Coast, South are those areas. So
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Terry Pluto with us. Again, our thanks to Doug Lesmerises of cleveland.com and the Cleveland Plain Dealer. We'll take a break and come on back in a moment. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing. And you can catch the excitement of the harness racing Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, as well as Saturday with the 6 p.m. post time. Open early every day for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. Enjoy live handicapping contests all weekend long, including the popular Road to the Derby contest. And remember, free parking, free admission every day at Northfield Park. Terry Pluto and I return in a moment, right here exclusively on cleveland.com.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let NatureStone flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. NatureStone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Plus, it has a higher insulation rating than carpet and is warmer than linoleum, vinyl, wood, or tile.
Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today and get up to 50% off.
NatureStone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home. NatureStone, the only concrete solution.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Time for birthdays for today. Oh, the greatest of them all, Terry. Babe Ruth. Smokey Burgess was he was a catcher and a great pinch hitter. I don't know how he did it. He's probably one of the greatest pinch hitters of all time. Mic'd up. He was born in 1947. That's what we do before we start the show. We get mic'd up.
Before there was Les Levine, there was mic'd up.
There was. Tom Tupa, local guy, played in the NFL in Ohio State. Of course, Bob Wickman, the relief pitcher. Chris Humphreys, born in 1985. The Babe. You know, Jim Ingram, who we both know, once was covering the Indians in New York, and there was an off day, and he rented a car and went to go see Babe Ruth's burial, or where he was buried.
Yeah.
And just stood there and soaked it all in.
A long time ago, I did a piece, there is the Babe Ruth kind of museum and his house/bar he grew up in Baltimore.
In Baltimore, yeah. Right near Camden Yards.
Yes, it's down there. In fact, back when Babe was growing up, it was called Pigtown because just down the street they slaughtered pigs and everything. I mean, it was a harsh neighborhood and smelly and everything else. And you know, Babe's dad did own the tavern, and they did live upstairs. And Babe grew up rough and tumble, and that's why part of the reason they sent him to that Catholic boarding school later on.
Is he the most compelling figure in all of sports to you? He is to me.
You know, one of them. I mean, I haven't really thought about the whole thing, but in terms of, I mean, maybe if we got a chance to, maybe Hank Aaron could have been a great pitcher or whatever. We don't know. Yeah. But we do know when Babe Ruth pitched, he won 20-some games a couple times.
And still holds records in the World Series.
Exactly. So, and you get into back then, minority players were not in baseball and so on, but you could only, you know, compare yourself to who you're playing. It's just like I hear people say, well, now Hank Aaron or whatever wouldn't be as good because guys are throwing harder or whatnot. But here's the deal. He now would have the same nutrition, the same weight program, all those things that all those other guys do.
Yeah, to me, he's the home run king.
Sure he is.
Hank Aaron.
I don't even discuss the other guy.
Yeah, good point. All right, let's time for a How Come Quickie. We don't want to miss that. And we don't have one.
How come there's no quickie?
How come there's no How Come Quickie? First time ever.
Because the
23 years.
Here's why.
Why?
The show's going too fast.
It's going too quickie. We mentioned before that the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards dinner going on right now in downtown Cleveland. Let's take a look at some of the candidates here. Baker Mayfield, of course, an Athlete of the Year nominee, 27 touchdown passes. That's a rookie NFL record. 37-25 passing yards, finished second in the Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. We continue on, and we've got Denzel Ward, of course, a local kid in Ohio State. 3 interceptions early in the season for a couple of them, and he was named to the NFL's All-Rookie team. Then we continue on to Corey Kluber, who in his resume shows a couple of Cy Young Awards. Not too many guys to get that, and we'll check that out a little bit later. I told you before the show I thought you did a great job on tracking down the Kent State part of the career of Edelman of Julian Edelman. First of all,
Jules, as his coaches call him.
Oh, is that what they call him?
Jules, yeah.
All right. Well, he can afford to buy a lot of jewelry. I'm quite sure. Just as quick as you. We don't have a quickie, but as quick as you can. Go over how we wound up at Kent State and how that was.
What you really had there was the spring of, I think it was 2006. Kent State had just finished a 1-10 season. They had no quarterback. Doug Martin's coach at Kent State. Word is, out in California, you could find a decent quarterback at some junior college somewhere.
And he wanted him to play immediately.
So he sent his top assistant, Pete Reskis, out there. And they had Edelman's name and a couple others. Basically, he just went from junior college to junior college saying, who's a good quarterback? They kept hearing about this 5'10" kid who ran for 1,300 yards in a wishbone, San Mateo College, Julian Edelman. They went down there. They got the game film. They took him to Kent. Edelman had to be convinced Kent was a Division I school. He never really heard of it. I mean, he's a California kid.
Sure.
And the only other offer he had, Boise State, like kind of a preferred walk-on as a special teams guy. So he showed up in the spring, and they're accepted because he wanted to go somewhere else. He was at a junior college. I mean, his grades were good, but he was 5'10" on his toes, as his coaches told me. And, he ends up being one of the better quarterbacks they have there, and then makes it in the NFL as a special teams guy and then a receiver.
Comparable to Josh Cribbs.
Yes, exactly. They were looking, in fact, that was one of the things, because when Doug Martin took over, he had Cribbs for the last year, and he thought if we could just get a really good athlete, even if he ends up running the ball better than he throws it, can win some games here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you end the year on a 9-game losing streak, and you lose 35-3 to Akron in your last final, you are open to suggestions.
Absolutely.
I don't care if he's 5'9". Maybe we could win 6 games, which they did.
It worked. There's no question about that. Let's go back to some of the stats that we have for the candidates tonight. Corey Kluber is a candidate for Professional Athlete of the Year. 215 innings pitched, 20-7 record, getting over 20 for the first time in his career. First pitcher since Cliff Lee to win 20 in a season for the Indians, finished third in the Cy Young Award voting. And will he be the opening day pitcher for the Cleveland Indians?
I think so.
Jose Ramirez, he's also a candidate. 270 batting average. I don't know what happened in September, but it wasn't good. 39 homers, how about that? 105 RBIs. Those are better stats than some of the guys looking for $300 million. The third player in franchise history to join the 30-30 club. Joe Carter did it in '87, Grady Sizemore in '08, and he finished third in the MVP voting for the second consecutive year. So that's a pretty good crop.
Mm-hmm.
If you missed the opening, and we talked about it, we've come a long way, baby.
Yeah, in terms of Jose, I think what happened to him there, he saw 39 homers. He really started to view himself as a home run hitter.
Probably thinking about 45 or 50.
Yeah, and just the thrill of hitting a home run.
Right.
And he started pulling the ball and upcutting, and they were trying to get him out of that. But hopefully this spring training to go back to hit the ball up the middle, drive in the gaps. Don't think of yourself as a guy that's going to hit 35 or 40 homers, and if it happens,
whose job is
great.
that? Is that the batting coach's
It is
job?
the batting, and Francona too.
Yeah.
In the end, you're the head, whether you're the head coach or the head guy as a manager,
CEO.
You have to say, look, something happened to you it was like the last 6 weeks. It wasn't just a bad couple of weeks.
Right.
This was not a slump. This was something that happened to his swing. By the way, I wanted to mention this. Baker Mayfield being second Rookie of the Year in the voting, it's an easy thing to determine whether you think he's first or second. Pretend you're the New York Giants. Would you trade right now Saquon Barkley? Saquon Barkley for Baker Mayfield. You're the Giants.
You're the Giants. With Manning doing what he's doing, I would want Baker Mayfield as my quarterback.
And if you're the Browns, would you trade Mayfield? Pretend Nick Chubb got waived or whatever. Would you trade Mayfield for Barkley?
No, I want
Baker
Mayfield.
That answers your question.
But it doesn't bother me. Some fans upset about it. It shouldn't bother anybody.
But I mean, when you value type of things, and Barkley had. I mean, it was a record-breaking year for a rookie running back. It really was.
And you still have the onus of, or the fact that running backs only have 3-4 good years.
But even if for next season, let's just say for next season, I wouldn't trade him.
No.
And basically, New York went from 3 wins to 5 wins, and the Browns went from 0 to 7.
Right. There are a lot of people who didn't know who the quarterback choice was going to be here in Cleveland, and a lot of them said, you know what, just go ahead and take the Barkley. He's a once in a not generational player, but once in a 5-year period guy that you might want to have.
Because, I mean, it is risky taking the quarterbacks, because you look at the rest of the rookie quarterback class. I mean, we'll see what Josh Allen does and Josh Rosen does and Sam Darnold. Yeah. Right. I mean, and maybe somebody even farther down that hardly played that ends up playing.
And of that group, wouldn't you say that Baker, it's strange to say this about the Cleveland Browns, wouldn't you say that Baker has a better supporting cast than anybody else going today and into the near future?
Probably. He probably does. But, I mean, it isn't even close. Baker Mayfield, for example, had a better rookie year than Carson Wentz. Look it up in 2016.
He did.
You know, Baker Mayfield, what he did here,
remarkable.
It is remarkable. Yeah. And I had him third on my list. I had the 2 Joshes in front of him. Rosen was 1, Allen was 2. Yeah. I didn't like Darnold at all because of all the turnovers. You know, because he had like 13 fumbles also at USC, on a bunch of interceptions. And I heard, by the way, the Browns had Darnold ranked very low because of the turnover issue also.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. You can email us during the show at reallesslevine@gmail.com. Tomorrow night is Wednesday. That means the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, will be joining us. Paul Hines was sensational last night. He's going to be heading out to Goodyear, Arizona. We'll check in with him throughout the week. And as we continue on More Sports and Les Levine into its 23rd consecutive year. And you can follow us on Facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine with new content posted each and every day. Terry Pluto and I return in a moment exclusively on cleveland.com.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
Terry, let's check out this date in sports history, February 6, 1970. The NBA expands to 18 teams, and they bring in Cleveland, Portland, Houston, and Buffalo are all granted franchises. And Terry, if you remember, in the first year, they just, for the most part, they had the schedule made up with the other teams. They had these 5 teams just play each other all the time.
Well, you know why they did it, so many? They were afraid of the ABA going into those cities.
Ah. And they weren't, not all of them were big markets, obviously.
No, they were just, of course, the ABA was allowed to put a franchise like in your backyard.
Right.
I mean, they were. I mean, as a
I
guy
had room.
You know.
Chavez Levine, no question about that.
But that, no, really, that was why so many came in and why the NBA acted so quickly with so little thought on putting the franchises there too.
And Nick Milletti, Jim Lessig was the assistant coach with Bill Fitch, and they were taking basketball cards from Fleer and picking them up to check out the stats.
Basketball cards in Street and Smith's basketball magazine. That's how you do it. There's analytics in 1970.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a look at our Facebook question of the day, which is involved with the Greater Cleveland Sports Award dinner tonight. Who do you think is your professional athlete of the year from 2018? So let's check out what you had to say. Glenn Berger says Baker Mayfield. After 20 years of terrible football, the Browns finally get a franchise quarterback. Tim Gebhardt, Baker, touchdown maker. Greg Mees says Baker Mayfield, hands down, lifted the Browns out of their funk and brought them back to be the hottest topic in Cleveland. Then we go to Kevin Piles. Baker would be my number 2 choice because he's only able to play a limited number of games. Played 13, I think.
Missed 10 quarters. People act like he only played the last 3 games.
Well, he's thanking Coach Hugh Jackson for that. My number 1 choice would be Francisco Lindor. He had a terrific season, and he also made his team better. Andy Mees says Frankie Lindor is my choice. Not only did he have another great season for the Tribe, but he donated money for the food, shelter, and other necessities to Puerto Rico after the hurricane. Frankie is a superstar on and off the field. So there you go. And Mark Jelisek checks in. He's talking about the King, but the King not on the list. That was he was not here in 2018.
Sure he was.
He was?
Yeah, the 2018 finals.
Oh, so what? You think they were going to give it to him?
No, that was the problem. But I'm just saying that's why I opened that earlier, Les. The fact was, my statement was his greatest playoff performance with the Cavs in any of the 4 years was in 2018. Like, I forgot who that. I think it was Andy.
I've been on those selection committees. There's no way LeBron gets
exactly.
out.
He wasn't going to get anyway. But you could go to some others. But
we got a Hall of Fame caller on the line. That's Chuck in Maizary, Ohio. Chuck, good evening.
Les?
Good evening, Les. Good evening, Terry. Les, I just want to let you know that Mr. Pluto gave a Hall of Fame-worthy performance at the Stowe Library last night.
And Chuck was there.
Nice.
And you were mentioned.
Was I mentioned?
Chuck and I, yes.
Cool. How many people showed up? Over 100?
Well, they ran out of chairs.
At least over 100.
No, seriously, they did.
Oh, good.
Yeah, probably 100 and some. It's not a huge room in there, but...
No, but it's a good venue.
Yes.
Good venue.
This isn't what I called about, Les, but I'm pretty sure the Houston Rockets were not an expansion team in 1970. I think the Houston Rockets came from San Diego. And I think the only 3 expansion teams that year were Portland, Buffalo, and Cleveland.
I was thinking that too, Chuck, about Houston. I was going to check that on the break. But the reason you rolled into that...
Who can we fire on the staff because of that?
Jim Lessig. He had the cards out from 1970.
You know, it's funny for you people who never saw the Cavs. If you're younger and never saw the Cavs in those days, go Google Pete Maravich's top 10 highlights. And there's about 5 games from the Cleveland, 5 plays he made at the Cleveland Arena. You'd look at the arena and you'd say, how did the NBA ever take that as a venue?
My dad loved Pete Maravich, and he would take me to the games at the old Cleveland Arena on Euclid Avenue. I remember $2.50, and you could sit behind the basket, maybe 20 rows up, and watch And Maravich, because the Cavs are so bad, would really he was acting like he was with the Globetrotters, and they were the Washington Generals. So he had a grand old time playing against the Cavs.
But when
what I call about Les is, last night one of the questions that was asked of Terry was about the assistant coaches, and Terry brought up how there's a lot of assistant coaches willing to come to Cleveland now because they see some longevity possibly, and they get tired of moving around.
You're talking with the Browns?
But the more important question, Terry, which wasn't asked, is what about free agents coming to Cleveland?
Well, basically that's going to come down primarily to money and
not like it used to.
But still it's going to be. You don't get a lot of discounts in free agency unless you've been like a Super Bowl team or something like that.
And you know what else?
End of his career.
I think that John Dorsey's made it clear he doesn't want guys with their final contract here because they kind of sit it out.
I anticipate we may see more of what we saw last year, where you're trading for a guy. Maybe he's going to be franchised or something by another player, so that you have control like they did with Landry, and you can keep him that way. Most of the time, I had a thing this past weekend on teams that spent the most in free agency, the top 10 teams. Only 3 made the playoffs.
Wow. All right,
so
Chuck.
Your expectations are we won't do much in free agency then, right?
I mean, I think they'll get a lot of guys, but it won't be just eye-popping stuff. But don't be surprised if there's another bold trade, much like the Jarvis Landry deal, something like that.
Well, that'll work. That'll work.
Chuck, thank you so much for visiting Terry and joining us as you do. We appreciate it very much. Chuck in Maizary, Ohio.
Thanks, guys.
216-575-0403. You can email us during the show, reallesLevine@gmail.com. Tomorrow is Thursday, and that means the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, will be here. Looking forward to that, as always. I'm looking forward to spring training opening for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is that means the weather gets a little bit better up here. Sokolowski's University Inn, Chuck and Mazier, you're invited to join us some Thursday. Terry, you're invited. Anybody's invited. I go there Thursday afternoons. But you can go Monday through Friday from 11 to 3, and Friday and Saturday nights starting at 4, going till about 10 o'clock at the great Sokolowski's University Inn. Always win every award there is, and deservedly so. We'll take a break. Come on back in a moment. More sports and less Levine with Terry Pluto tonight. And, of course, you're seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
The concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with Naturestone flooring. Reduce tracked-in dirt, eliminate puddling and salt damage. Plus, Naturestone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping.
Call or go to naturestone.com to schedule your free in-home estimate today and get up to 50% off.
Naturestone is the affordable garage floor solution that beautifies your home. Naturestone, the only concrete solution.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
All right, Hoynesy was here last night. That means pitchers and catchers are reporting soon, as is Hoynesy. He's when the Indians send out their memos, they say, Hoynesy, don't forget, get to Goodyear as soon as possible. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Let's take a look at the Indians situation and their lineup, as it were. This is a comparison from 2018 to potentially 2019, and it's an MLB.com projection. In 2018, it was Lindor, Brantley. They're going to miss that guy. Ramirez, Encarnacion, Donaldson, Yonder Alonso, Melky Cabrera, Yan Gomes, and Jason Kipnis. Now we go to this year. You got Lindor, Kipnis batting second in their projection. Ramirez, Carlos Santana is back. Jake Bowers is here. Tyler Naquin is back. Leonis Martin is back. Jordan, I always assumed it was Luplow, like his great uncle Al Luplow, but everybody's calling him Luplow. We'll wait to ask him what it really is. And Roberto Perez, starting catcher. Now, looking at it on paper, that's not a good comparison, Terry.
The bottom of that lineup looks like a real dead zone.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope they bring back Melky Cabrera. I'd rather have him than some of these other guys.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree with that.
Still, you always have to worry about his weight, but assuming he's still in shape.
Don't you think that there's going to be some guys falling through the cracks because of the lateness of all this stuff?
I just have a hard time believing Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff and Terry Francona are going to go completely with that we just saw.
No, although, you know, in 2016, we were talking about it last night, you had Marlon Byrd and Cowgill. Mm-hmm. They started the season, the opening day lineup?
Yeah, although they part of it had to do with their platooning back then, because Naquin made the team as a left-handed bat and so on. But they picked up Napoli, and in fact, Marlon Byrd came in. I was in Goodyear the middle of March. He gets off, like he comes driving in his pickup
told
truck.
The story,
yeah, with his bats. He has 10 days to show he could make the team.
Right.
And he did.
And he did.
And he had about 5 home runs in 6 weeks and flunked another drug test.
Yes. How did that happen?
Probably might have been left over from before.
In the interview, he didn't say, oh, by the way, you may want to check the drug test?
Well, I mean, he got paid for 6 weeks.
If anybody cares about the Cavaliers, do you see anything happening with the trade deadline, which is tomorrow?
They'll do something. Yeah, I mean, they're holding out Alex Burks to try to get a first-round pick for him. You know, these guys, they're not going to just sit there and look at the roster they have now, I mean, they want to. They've picked up, by the way, since the start of the year, picked up 1 first-round and 6 second-round picks, along with Dellavedova and John Henson. So I do think, and these guys they just recently got from Portland, but I think they're going to continue to just try to keep piling up picks.
Speaking in Portland, Chuck and Mazer is correct. There were three teams that came in as expansion teams in 1970. That would have been Portland, that would have been Buffalo, and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
And he was correct, too, about Houston came from San Diego.
Houston started in, 67, and then moved in 71 to Houston.
Yeah, that franchise was in San Diego and then went to Houston.
Those tickets for the Cavaliers were $2.50.
That's what I remember behind the basket. First couple of years, yeah.
Do you remember the first game or very early on?
No, I wasn't there early. I just remember.
No, but because it was at the Cleveland Arena, the ice melted underneath. They had to cancel the game. I remember Rick Barry giving a tirade.
Yeah, no, he was good at tirades.
He was also good at basketball.
Joe Tate said they also had a Mr. Potato Head contest, or like somewhere it was like a couple $100 inside a Mr. Potato Head, but they opened the ball up and nobody won.
Nothing was in Mr. Potato Head.
He just got potatoed. You know, it was like a plastic Mr. Potato Head.
You know, you wrote a book with Joe Tate, and much of my interest, because of being in broadcasting for so long, the chance he took was unbelievable to come here. Bill Fitch had heard him in college doing a football game, liked what he heard, and suggested to Nick Milletti. But Joe comes here. He was a program director in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Right. And he was doing pre-game and post-game on the Indiana
Network.
He took basically to work for $100 a game, which would have been like 8,200 hours. He was making like 15 or 16,000, which in 1970 in Indiana was not bad money.
Not bad money at all.
And he had kids and that whole thing and moved there. I mean, he tells the story of because he didn't come into like 6 games into the season, and he's listening to the Cavs game as he's driving in, and somehow he got on the Philadelphia station, he said, and the announcer's going on how bad the Cavs are, and there's nobody in the seats, and go, I don't know if this thing's going to make it through the first year. They may just have to fold it.
Unbelievable. Bob Brown was the guy who did the first 6 games for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, I guess he was their PR guy in those days.
And they didn't have a guy yet, and so that's how. And Joe turns out to be a Hall of Fame guy. I mean, he was so good at what he did, and for so long. And
well, you may remember too, he did stuff like this. Like he told me that first year he did Swap and Shop on the radio.
He did.
Yeah. Les calling in, hey, you know, I got a doghouse here.
I got a dining room table. I don't know the color, but it's $25. Can you imagine Joe Tate doing that?
Well, he did all the small town Indiana.
Yeah, it wasn't new to him.
It wasn't new to him. And I mean, he used to do all the funeral announcements where he had to give the sad voice with the organ music behind.
You know, I got to tell you something. When I worked at a radio station, well, WNIR, we used to at noon we'd read the deaths of the community. Yeah. And we weren't smart enough to tape them. So the guy who delivered them says so-and-so, whose nickname was whatever, and he bursts out laughing on the funeral announcement.
Oh, boy.
Well, from a radio standpoint, we learned it might be a good idea to tape them in advance, so we did that. One more segment to go. If you want to get in, you can do that right now. Lines are open. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Northfield Park is your place for live and simulcast racing. Live racing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as well as Saturday evening. Open every day early for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. Free admission, free parking every day. That's at Northfield Park. Terry Pluto and I return one more time exclusively on cleveland.com.
When my dad started Naturestone, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems: unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. Naturestone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. Naturestone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and affordable. Plus, Naturestone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Call or go to naturestone.com to schedule your free in-home estimate today and get up to 50% off.
Naturestone, the only concrete solution.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Well, tomorrow night, the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff, plain dealer, cleveland.com, joins us. And you see us, of course, Monday through Friday with Dave Bacon's show on Friday. You see us from 6 until 7 live, and then you can check it out all evening long, and you can archive, go back to some other show that we've had in the past. It's a pretty good situation. Let's go to the phones. We're going to go to Lexington, Kentucky. Tom is standing by. Hello, Tom.
Hey, hi, Bless. How are you?
We're doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm an old racquetball buddy of yours back in the 80s.
What's your last name? What's your last name?
Hearn.
Well, I'm sure you beat me every time.
I did, but I owned a car dealership in Cleveland.
Oh, sure, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask Terry. He's been talking for a while about John Dorsey and the coaching staff and everything. Terry, is John Dorsey really the head coach of this team, and he's just put a defensive team together and an offensive group together? And
no, he's a strong front office guy, and that in terms of if you have a rookie head coach, you better give him guidance and use your influence to bring in some of these assistant coaches and help him set up how he wants to do this. Because remember, Kitchen's his offensive coordinator resume is 8 games.
Right.
This is not like you just hired, like if they'd have brought in, the guy that got fired in Green Bay or some of these other coaches that have been around. So
right.
When you have all the experience and everything else, you do that. I remember Phil Savage told me after the 2006 season where Romeo Crennel had terrible problems with his offense or whatever, it was Phil Savage's idea to bring in Rob Chudzinski to become offensive coordinator. And because sometimes you have more connections than your head coach does with guys that could be a good assistant coach. So
yeah, we just assume a coach who gets hired and he's got the list in his hip pocket. That may not be the case, but it certainly would be with the GM.
Yeah, in fact, that's part of his job.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I just thought that you're right. Dorsey seemed to bring all these guys in, and he hired them all.
Right.
And it just looks to me like, and I agree with you. I think the right way to do it is take the GM, hire the head coach, and now they're married together.
Exactly.
So that. Yeah. So they got to make sure the head coach is successful. Otherwise, he's not going to be around long.
I mean, for example, Dorsey told me at the end of the season, he says, we are going to get a big-time special teams coordinator, a guy that's good. He couldn't stand the Amos Jones shows any more than we could. So they brought in Mark Prefer, who had been good at Minnesota. His contract was up, but the Vikings wanted to re-sign him, and I heard the Browns just basically outbid him. Now, a couple of the guys on the staff that Freddie Kitchens brought in, you see they have Alabama connections. Those are his guys. So it isn't all just Dorsey, here, you have to hire this whole staff. In fact, one of the things when they interview candidates is they want you to come in with the list of your coaches who you would hire, and then sometimes the GM says, well, how about some of these guys? Do you know any of these guys? For example, do you know Mark Prefer? He's going to be available. We got to do something with this. How about Steve Wilkes? So they probably, there's a lot of the dialogue, especially in that second meeting, may have revolved around staffing.
Hey, Tom, I think the most important thing out of this whole area of what we're talking about is the fact that you don't have everybody going to getting the ear of the owner.
Oh, please.
Right? It's going to Dorsey. It filters through him, and he's the voice over to the owner, and that was a problem for the past 5 years.
And I think it's good that they know, Kitchens knows Dorsey was the guy who kicked down the door for him. So when it gets a little sideways between the two, you say, well, wait a minute. This guy is why I have this job.
That's right. Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. As I said, they're married together, so they're going to be they want to be successful, and he's going to make sure Kitchen's successful.
Do you like the way they're set up right now?
I do. I love it. I think they've done a really nice job. As Terry said, I've been reading Terry's articles. I'm all in on all the guys he's hired, especially the defensive coordinator. I mean, that poor guy got sidewhacked in Arizona, and he's right where he belongs to be back as the defensive coordinator. And the guy, the special teams. I agree with you. If they kicked 2 or 3 field goals last year, they would have been 9-7 or 10-6, and they could have been in the playoffs.
Well, how about the endless penalties on kickoffs and punch? You held your breath every time they did it because either somebody jumped offside, somebody clipped, somebody did something.
Well, the argument though about they could have won more games if they had won a game or two with Hugh Jackson, he still would have been here. So you don't know what would have happened the remaining part of the season.
I agree. I understand that. He'd still be here, and we'd still have the defensive or the offensive coordinator also. So the Haley's, that would have been a real mess. But
yeah, anyway. My guess is there was this. They were, even if they won an extra game or two, they were spiraling. Totally out of control.
Not good. Hey, Tom, great to hear from you. Great to see that you're checking in with us from Lexington, Kentucky. We appreciate it very much.
Love your show. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Good to talk to you. That is great to hear.
Yep.
So, all right, what do you got? We got a minute or two.
A minute or two.
Yeah. What's on your mind? Anything bothering you?
Actually, well, one thing was the Baker Mayfield, which I mentioned that. The other thing that comes to mind right now is, I did look at that lineup for the Indians, and
as it were.
Yeah. And that's why.
Now, somebody has to come out of that and surprise everybody, but I couldn't tell you who it would be.
The problem is you're counting like 4 guys, and you need... 1 or 2.
There's no power with any of them.
Now, the blessing is, and it's for real, is when you have that starting rotation, that covers up a lot of errors. I mean, if I had to pick it, you don't want it to be so lopsided, but would you rather have a strong lineup or a strong starting rotation? I'll take the rotation.
Yeah, but the problem is if you go 6 innings with these guys, they go to that bullpen, and who knows who's coming out of the bullpen.
Now, here's a fair thing. An executive from the Indians said this to me. He said, it's no disrespect to what Cody Allen and Andrew Miller did last year, but their combined ERA was 4.64.
Well, Allen, they figured out Allen, the opposition did, and I'm still thinking that Miller was still hurt.
Miller's knee was bad, and that led to all his other things.
And look what somebody took a chance on him for a lot of money.
And Allen, for whatever reason, basically lost his curveball less. It no longer went over the plate, and that was a big pitch because he could throw it to left-handed hitters, the old 12-6, Burt Bly 11 type one. So that was, now, I mean, you could sit there and go, they may have a Cody Allen coming up through the minors. You don't know, because that's the kind of guy, he starts at Double-A, and all of a sudden in July, he's in the big leagues, because the relievers come up quicker, because you only need 1 good pitch and 1 fair pitch to become a good reliever in the big leagues, especially if you're throwing 94 or 96.
You're talking about a guy who's not a reliever now, but could be turned into one?
Or it could be somebody in the lower minors, that they have. His name escapes me, but it was a kid, I think it's Sandelin or something. He signed him from Southern Miss last year, and he vaulted all the way from rookie ball to the Akron Rubber Ducks, to Double-A. And he's a college pitcher. He's the kind of guy that could come quickly, and he was like the college pitcher of the year.
Do you think that's the way the game is going now? Younger guys coming up quicker than usual?
Yes, I mean, they're grooming them, and they're pushing them up faster.
Right.
So, I mean, that was... something you can do, and sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't, or sometimes you know what you do, you get a year or 2 out of them and they flame out.
Yeah. All right, great job by Terry Pluto, as always, the 10-time sports writer of the year in the state of Ohio, and we appreciate him stopping by. Tomorrow night, Dennis Maniloff will talk everything. We don't know what we talk about. We just start talking, and then all of a sudden it's 7 o'clock and we're done. It's pretty much what I've done right here.
He's done.
It's my clock management.
Yes.
Clock man. And by the way, I hope Freddie Kitchens has a good clock management guy.
I thought Greg Williams, for the most part, was pretty good.
Got burned one game, I thought, but yeah, first time in a long time that he was the head coach, that's for sure. All right, that'll do it for us. We will see you tomorrow night with Dennis Maniloff. Thanks to Terry Pluto. Thanks to Doug Lesmerises. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.